We're following several breaking news stories here at noon. President Trump is calling for unity after a shooting that injured a top House Republican leader this morning. And several people shot, 2 are dead after a gunman opened fire at a UPS shipping facility. Plus, trying to escape, witnesses say a mother threw her baby from the window in a deadly high-rise apartment fire. And grocery store damage after a local teen apparently stole his grandparents' Lexus. 9 News at noon starts next.
This is 9 News.
A scary scene in our nation's capital as a gunman opens fire on a group of lawmakers and their aides. 5 people have gone to the hospital, including a ranking member of Congress. Majority Whip Rep. Steve Scalise was shot in the hip. The attacker died when police returned fire. Now it appears that the shooter was targeting Republicans. NBC's Blaine Alexander has more from the scene.
A man with a rifle opened fire this morning on Republican members of Congress practicing for a charity baseball game.
We were doing batting practice, and all of a sudden we heard shots, and it was clear pretty quickly that there was a shooter there with a high-powered rifle.
And Capitol police officers engaged in a gun battle that lasted for several minutes.
It went on for about 10 minutes. Dozens and dozens and dozens of shots fired.
Federal officials have identified the suspect as 66-year-old James T. Hodgkinson from Illinois. He died a short time later. Senator Bernie Sanders says Hodgkinson apparently volunteered on his presidential campaign.
I am sickened by this despicable act.
At least 5 people were transported to nearby hospitals. Among those hit, House Majority Whip Steve Scalise.
He's drug himself from the dirt infield to the grass outfield. There's a trail of blood. We can't help him. We're helpless. I mean, we've got bats versus rifle. Not good odds.
I think the security detail saved a lot of lives because they attacked the shooter.
In Washington, partisanship was put on hold.
We are united in our shock. We are united in our anguish. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
We may have our differences, but we do well in times like these to remember that everyone who serves in our nation's capital is here because, above all, they love our country.
As the victims are being treated, police are just beginning their investigation into a possible motive. And among the many people tweeting their condolences today was Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. You'll remember that she herself survived an assassination attempt back in 2011. In Alexandria, Virginia, Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
So like we mentioned earlier, it appears that the shooter was targeting Republicans in a partisan attack. It's left lawmakers calling for unity in all of this. 9 News political analyst Floyd Cerulli is here with us. And Floyd, it just makes you think, is this what it has come to? Are people so divided that they shoot other people with different political opinions?
It is a tragedy, and as you know, this was a baseball game in which it's one of the few activities that these Congress people get together with in a bipartisan fashion. So you hate to even see that type of an event undermined because it would be so important to civility. I do think you're going to see an increase of civility here for a while, particularly on you saw Speaker Ryan, and there have been a lot of statements on the Hill. So for a moment here, we will slow down and pause.
Okay, you said for a moment. So are we already anticipating that it could just go back to what it was?
Well, when they mentioned Gabby Gifford, if you remember back in 2011, it didn't take too long until the politics picked up. I think the thing you fear the most is the bigger political environment. I think Congress is going to be very somber for a while and maybe actually lower the partisan rhetoric. But the greater political environment today is hard to control. And you can already hear the finger and see the finger pointing going on. Some alt-right Republicans claiming that the Democrats are causing this, the media is causing this, whatever it is. And the Democrats will shortly be coming back and saying, no, it's the attacks on immigrants or the attacks on the press or whatever. So my sense is that isn't going to go away very long.
All you have to do is check your social media feed. You see all this finger pointing, unfortunately. We learned that the attacker was once a volunteer for Bernie Sanders. Now, Sanders came out, issuing a statement calling the shooting despicable. How important is it for Democrats to come out against this violence right now?
I think it is incumbent upon them. As you know, the Republicans are feeling a bit embattled right now. They hold the power. They hold the White House. Mr. Trump is a person that attracts a lot of polarization. And so they have, I think they have some rights to complain, because I think the rhetoric has gotten awfully heated. And I do think Democrats right now are going to be wise to try and lower the temperature. But again, the greater political environment is incredibly polarized. A lot of distrust of Washington and elites. A lot of new ways to communicate, as you pointed out, on social media. So it'll be hard to control. Bernie obviously feels terrible about this. This is clearly a disturbed individual, but he was also very deliberate. Notice how prepared he seemed to be. I'll tell you the other thing that you hate to see happen, besides any loss of communal baseball, is the security possibly ratchets up. The fact that congressmen aren't protected individually, I think most of them think is good.
Because they get to talk to their constituents and meet them anywhere.
They can interact with their constituents, but on the other hand, you're going to be worried about your family and your staff and things, and so you would hate to see that this now leads to an even greater separation between Washington and the people.
And accessibility. Well, we can only keep watching and waiting and finding out more. Floyd Cerulli, thank you for helping us break this down. Well, we do have, unfortunately, more breaking news to report to you. San Francisco is the site of this one. Our NBC affiliate there reports that 3 people have been killed at a UPS warehouse and customer service center. A shooter opened fire in that building. Initial reports say 5 people were shot. A UPS spokesperson says the shooter was an employee. According to our partners at USA Today, police have an unidentified person in custody. Police rescued employees, taking them out of the building in a line there. The building is located on Portero Hill, which is about 2.5 miles from downtown San Francisco. We'll keep updating you on this story throughout the day. A wildfire in western Colorado has now burned more than 17,000 acres. It's being fanned by wind gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. Those winds had died down last night, but they're back today along with the heat. The fire has been named the Dead Dog Fire for Dead Dog Gulch. That's close to where the fire started. Now, there's no containment on the Dead Dog Fire. Crews have a little more control over another fire, the Hunter Fire. That one is 30% contained. The temperatures are going to pick back up today. Definitely not a good sign when it comes to those fires. Meteorologist Danielle Granite's in the backyard with more on that. Danielle, just have to be so careful in this warm and windy weather.
This is the time of the year, Taronda, that we really start seeing those fires starting to break out, just because we have the heat with us and also the stronger winds. Today, we once again are going to be watching for some breezy conditions around the metro area, up in the high country and into the foothills as well, and out to the western slope. The views, though, they look beautiful around town. This is right here at Logan and Spirit 9 News. Plenty of blue skies and a lot of green as well. I mentioned the winds right now currently at the Loveland Pass area, 50-mile-per-hour gusts, 40 in the Berthoud area, and in Boulder out to Longmont, 20-plus-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're in the low 80s right now here in the metro area, 70s lining up the eastern, I should say western side of the state, and the heat just continues really for the next couple of days. Tonight it should be relatively mild. Here in the metro area, we'll be looking at mostly clear skies, and that's what we have right now on HD Doppler 9, extremely dry statewide. So a nice mild night for us. If you're thinking about heading out to the backyard, maybe firing up the grill, tonight's your night. And as we go throughout the next couple of days, the heat will be on. Toronto, we're going to be back to the 90s. I'll take a look at Father's Day weekend, which right now we might have a couple of storms kind of here and there. I'll let you know which day I anticipate more storms than the other.
Okay, already got to watch out for Dad. Father's Day coming up. Thank you, Danielle. A fire raced through a high-rise apartment building in London overnight, killing at least 12 people and injuring dozens. Now, this was a scene overnight in London as the fire tore through the residential building with hundreds of people trapped inside. Firefighters battled it for hours to try to get people out. Trapped residents were desperately waving from the windows. These flames are just huge. One woman was so desperate, she dropped her baby from the 9th floor.
But miraculously, the baby just dropped in a straight line, and the guy just ran forward, and the baby fell into his arms.
Wow, he caught the baby. There are nearly 200 apartments in the block. Up to 1,000 residents live there. London's fire chief says about 75 people have been taken to the hospital.
I've never seen a fire of this nature before in my 29-year history.
Wow, it's too early to know what caused this fire, but residents say they've been warning others about poor fire safety standards for years. The tower was recently renovated at a cost of $11 million, but people say there was no central fire alarm. Fire officials say crews have reached the top floor, but pockets of fire are still burning. Clean up on aisle 5. A King Soopers in Aurora had quite the mess to get up after a teenager drove a car through part of that building. Aurora police say the 17-year-old was arrested after this crash. He's apparently taken his grandparents' Lexus for a spin. The car crashed through the west side of the store at 6th and Peoria. Originally, officers spotted the black Lexus sedan speeding through a red light at the intersection of Moline and Colfax at around 3 this morning. Now, at that time, police decided not to chase the driver. Short time later, Aurora police say the teen hit a curb, went over a barrier, and then into the store. Looks like the car landed in a stock room, something like that. The teen tried to run away, but police caught him. Aurora police say drugs or alcohol may have been factors in this crash. RTD's G line will start running tests today. The line will run from Wheat Ridge through Arvada and to Adams County. RTD has not given an official date for when the line will open. It really just depends on issues with the A line. Testing will go on for about 90 days. Cycling enthusiasts, we know there are a lot of you out there and you're going to love this news. A new race is coming to Colorado this summer. From Garden of the Gods to the mountains of Breckenridge, the Colorado is getting ready for a new pro cycling race. The Colorado Classic is coming up in about 2 months. We're getting a first look at the routes today. This is stage 1, starting and finishing in Colorado Springs. 9 News sports reporter Taylor Temby is in Breckenridge, where stage 2 will kick off.
Well, there's no question that Breckenridge will provide some of the more scenic routes of this entire Colorado Classic, but also some of the more difficult ones, especially when you consider the altitude of 9,600 feet. This stage will test racers' endurance and sheer willpower because this is where the climbs really happen. Men will face 7,000 feet of climbing, women 3,000, and that includes multiple leg-burning runs up the notorious Moonstone Climb. The stage starts and ends on Main Street, and it's a circuit race. That means cyclists will complete multiple laps of the 6.4-mile course. This is great news for fans because now they'll get countless opportunities to see riders up close and personal. All this goes down on August 11th, and as Breckenridge Mayor Eric Mamula said, it's really a win-win situation for the entire town.
This is more about the future and branding the town and letting people know that Breck loves the bike. You know, we have some great races here, great local races. After the big race comes through, we have the Breck Epic, which is the big race of mountain biking. So we love the whole bike experience here in town, and that's what we look for out of these things.
All of the route information can be found on 9news.com as well as our Facebook page. Reporting in Breckenridge, Taylor Temby, 9 News.
So stage 3 and stage 4 of the race will both start and finish in Denver. We have those routes posted on our 9 News Facebook page and on 9news.com. Just 15 years old and accused of murder. This afternoon, a teen could learn what charges he'll face in the death of 10-year-old Kaya Campbell. Nearly a week after 10-year-old Kaya Campbell was found dead in a Thornton neighborhood, charges could be brought against a 15-year-old boy in her death today. 9 News reporter Andrew Sorensen reports from the Adams County Courthouse.
We're a little over an hour away from a hearing in which the district attorney could file charges in this case. Officials have not said who this teenager is or how he's connected to Kaya Campbell, partly because he's a minor and hasn't officially been charged with anything yet. But he's been held on investigation of first-degree murder in connection with Campbell's death since late Saturday night. Campbell lived in Montbello, but she was in Thornton visiting her dad last Wednesday. She was allegedly out heading to a shopping center with her dad's girlfriend's teenage son when police say they've been told the pair got separated. A neighbor found Campbell's body in a green space off 128th Avenue Thursday evening. The coroner says it could take several weeks before they release how she died specifically, though they have said that the cause of death is non-natural. Any charges here are going to have to start in juvenile court, but the district attorney could file to get that moved up to adult court. We're told, though, by 9 News legal expert that could take a couple of months.
That was 9 News reporter Andrew Sorensen. The U.S. Census Bureau says 11% of Coloradans live in poverty, and for many of them, food insecurity is a pressing issue. That's why an organization is helping people on food assistance programs like SNAP double the amount of fresh fruits and vegetables they get at their local market. For every dollar spent on things like meat, bread, eggs, and milk, the Double Up Food Bucks program matches that amount for Colorado-grown fruits and vegetables. Quite a few local farmers markets and stands are participating in this. You can find the location closest to you by visiting the website. We'll have a link to it on our website, 9news.com. It's heating up out there. Danielle has the final look at just how warm it'll get today. Thank you for being with us. Are you here at 4 o'clock, Danielle?
I'll be here.
Well, tune in at 4 o'clock to see Danielle.
And Kim.